Welcome to Learn to Paint with Scarlett. Today I have a brand new palette. This is just a little square palette with a tiny little edge. I went to the art store yesterday and I picked it up. I'm super excited about this palette because I've actually been looking for quite some time. You probably have seen me use the little dinner plate, and I have to tell you, I am a little sick of it. So this is awesome. Also, it's square and it'll fit in my space a little better, which will be better for filming. Hopefully you guys will be able to see it because I can tuck it in closer. So today I'm going to go ahead and fill it up. That's the plan. I have to choose the colors that I want, figure out how I'm going to lay them out, actually put them onto the little palette, and then I'm even going to create a little chart so that I have the references for a little reference chart so I know what colors went where, and I'm going to name them. And I will walk you guys through how I choose them. So these are all the paints that I have. And I'm going to go through these and figure out, based on some of the paints that are already in other palettes, I'm going to figure out which ones I love to use the most, which colors I can't live without, and which colors I can mix myself. And then I will use that and put this together, and yeah, all that good stuff. So join me and let's put together our palettes. If you've never put together a palette before and you're looking at all these tubes and you're just totally overwhelmed, you don't know what to choose, or if you don't even have any tubes and you're thinking about getting watercolor, then this will be a really good episode for you guys, because it's going to help you, or hopefully I'll be able to give you an idea of what colors I choose and why, and how to choose them and how to set them up. So in terms of how many do you need and other such things. You don't actually need as many as I've chosen to do here. This is quite a lot. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and one is here twice. You could easily get away with the primaries, red, yellow, and blue, and the secondaries, not necessarily red, yellow, and blue, maybe one secondary like a green. Purple is really easy to mix, of course. Orange is also very easy to mix. Greens can be complicated because they come in all shapes and varieties and all styles and all tones and tints. And some greens are really fun and really awesome. Maybe you want something to work with without always making your greens and yellows. Without always mixing your blues and yellows. But that being said, if you have a Payne's gray with a bluish tone and some yellow, there's a very good chance that you can mix a blue. That being said, if you have a Payne's gray and some yellow, you're going to be able to mix beautiful greens. So it's all just a matter of preference and how you'd like to mix your colors. But I do hope that if you decide to subscribe to this channel and watch more, that I will be able to bestow upon you some of my color knowledge. And when it comes to color theory and mixing colors and all that good stuff, it's all coming. I have 109 episodes all pre-planned and laid out, so there's lots to come, guys. I'm really looking forward to this channel. Please give me your comments and your thoughts down in the notes below, and let's dive in. Welcome to Learn to Paint with Scarlett. Today I have a brand new palette. Now this is a porcelain palette, and it's got this lovely teeny tiny little rim around the outside, and I'm really thrilled to have it because it's going to give me the ultimate space for working. So what I have been using for a little while when I'm here in the studio is I just use this plate. This is just a dish that I have downstairs, and I wouldn't mind returning this back to downstairs. So I'm going to wash it off and give it a good scrub and some soap, and then it will be all good to go back into the cupboard. But as you can see, I really like surfaces that are open, like not so much the little wells, but just an open flap space so that I can really mix. And what happens for me is that all these little colors in here, you can see these different shades and different tones. Those are awesome. I can lift them out. So if I take a tiny little brush, I can just lift out a smidge, just that little bit of blue, and then I could paint with it. Or let's see, over here I've got kind of like a lovely peachy color, and I could lift that out. That's pretty light. I'll have to get a bunch of it. And then I can paint with that. So that's what I've done in the past. So what I want to do today is christen this beautiful new palette. It's a pretty small palette. I believe it's 15 by 18. Okay, so I like to keep my paints in this little box. Now you can do it in any box, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I avoid plastic like the plague, so the only thing in my studio that I'm going to use that's going to be plastic is things I can't get around. Like it's ridiculously difficult to find a toothbrush without plastic bristles on it. So I have a plastic bristle toothbrush. I use glass whenever possible. If I can get any of my art supplies in a glass bottle, I'll go with that. Obviously it's going to come with a plastic top, but I do avoid plastic as much as possible. So it's all porcelain or tin or other things. Yes, anybody out there who's telling me, who wants to mention there is plastic in the paint, it's very hard to get around that. I do make some of my own paints, and I will give you guys some tutorials later on in the year about how to make your own paints, because there's a whole world of natural paints and natural pigments and making natural brushes, and it's really exciting. But for now we're going to go with things that are a little more traditional. Okay, so picking your paints like this can be really complicated. So what I like to do is when I first buy a paint, I make a little wash, just a little color chart. So let's go through them a little bit and see what I want. So I believe something like this one. I really like the earth green. I think that's really pretty. But you can make that really easy. So something I can't make would be a sap green or a May green. And of course the cobalt green is going to be nice and dark. The ruby red, because it's like this really nifty pinky color that you just can't get anywhere else. Let's see. And then the blues. And what did I take out for a blue? I took out a Paris blue, which is this one. But I really should have a phthalium blue or a cobalt blue, because that's like the most traditional blues that everybody seems to be using. And if I use those blues, at least when I tell you what I'm using, you guys might have a better time at like grabbing the right color, if I ever mention what I'm using. But a lot of people use phthalium blue to mix with everything. It's a nice, soft, gentle color. Whereas cobalt blue can come out really dark. But you can see on this line here that this one also becomes quite dark as well. But the Paris blue, I think, is the darkest. And I'm not sure. Let's see, on my palettes, the ones that I'm currently using, this is my travel palette, but some of the colors, well, this one has the base colors and these have a few extras, although I believe this one has a few fun ones like this extra pink, this extreme pinky fun thing here, and then it's got extras down here. So I like to use that blue and this blue, and I'm pretty sure, no, you know what, I think they're ultramarine blue. So let's see what I've got in the blues. So I tend to start with small tubes, and I buy them right off the shelf, you know, like off the rack. I don't necessarily buy them in a kit. You can buy a starter kit, but they can be really expensive, like anywhere from $30 to $130 for a starter kit, depending on how many's in it. But I like to buy off the shelf, and then when I use them up, I go, okay, so I'm obviously using that one up and I like it. So now I'm going to go ahead and buy the 15 milliliter container of that one, because obviously I use it more. So these guys will fill one of these little wells. I don't know what they're called. Wells, plastic little tishy square things. Anyway, pans. I think that's it. They're pans. Okay, we'll go with that. So these guys will fill a pan 2.5 times. And they're 5 millimeters, so this one will do that 3 times as much as this one. So you get more, definitely, more bang for your buck. Now, if you don't use watercolor very often, then, you know, going with a really big one like this might be a total waste. Also, if you have these on the shelf too long, they can split. It is possible. I've even bought them from my art supply store and found that the paints have split. Doesn't happen often, but you never know. It's possible. Look, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So here I have the Paris Blue in small, and I went back and went, yep, I need to buy that again because I'm using it up. So maybe, I doubt there's anything in there actually. That one's done. So we've got Paris Blue, the big one, and then we've got Phthalo Blue and Ultramarine Blue down here. Phthalo Blue, Paris Blue, and Cobalt Blue. Those 4. So Ultramarine Blue, and I hope this is really interesting to you guys, Ultramarine Blue and Cobalt Blue are almost exactly the same, although at least in this wash, Ultramarine Blue seemed to do a better job at giving a super common flat, whereas Cobalt Blue looks a little on the grainy side, and I try to avoid that. So I'm going to go with Ultramarine Blue for one, and we'll put the Cobalt Blue back. But pretty much they're like the same color. Okay, and then we have Phthalo Blue here, which is definitely different. And then we have Paris Blue, which is definitely different. So I think that that's a good range, for me anyway, for this little palette. Okay, so those will be my blues. I'd say overall the lemon yellow is going to be the easiest one to just have on the palette. But I will put 2 spots of it down, or, yeah, I'll just use the one, but I'll put down 2 spots. And that way I have one yellow for mixing with my cool colors and one yellow for mixing with my warm colors. So like yellow to green to make blue, sorry, yellow to blue to make green, and yellow to red to make orange, etc. and all those fun things. So that will be my yellow. Now, flipping back here somewhere, I have my earth green. I really like that color. Let's drop in a smidge of earth green. So we have 3 greens, and we have 3 blues, 1 yellow. Maybe we should do 3 and 3 and 3. The purples will make ourselves, although this brilliant red violet, that would be kind of complicated to make because unless we start with a ruby red or something, some of the colors are just not really possible to make on your own. But a cadmium red light is this interesting color too. I don't know, I think, let's take a scarlet red. That's probably the best bet. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, alright, so of these, like, what is this? 7, we're going to use this one, and scarlet red. Okay, and these fun colors can go back in here, and they're on my special palettes, my travel palettes, etc. Okay, so now that I've got my colors, and I've decided which ones I want based on what they look like, based on my color swatches here, I've got them laid out going from darkest to lightest all the way across. I've got my color wheels, so my red, my yellow, and my blue, and then I've thrown in my secondary color for a green and a Payne's gray on the side. And I don't need, a purple and an orange. That is just too easy to mix. I could put in pinky purple that's maybe a special color that's really not mixable, but I wouldn't necessarily use that color. And I have those colors already on other palettes. So this is going to be a permanent palette that will live in my studio, on my desk, on my art table, and it's going to just be the neutral colors or the basics. So I'm going to work with it, and I'll bring in other palettes if I need something extra. So I've laid them all out. Now I want to put tiny drop of each one. Now, I was at the art store yesterday, and there was this lovely little tool that helps you to open these containers, and I thought, oh, I should get one of them, because whenever I open my container, it's always such a pain. But I forgot. It's also really cheap. I think it was $2 for this. Looked like a nutcracker, but it was specially designed for the big and for the little lids, which was like just so cool. So I just want to put a tiny little drop into the corner. And that's about it. I'm really not putting too much. I mean, that's like half the size of a pea. I want to do this up nice and tight, but I don't want to go so tight that I can't ever get it undone again. Staying true to a color wheel, I like to put red on the top. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward this so you guys can just quickly see what I'm doing. You don't need to watch it in slow. Okay, so the next thing to do is to make a chart of what you just did. How do I do this? And then we use the back. It's burnt umber, followed by raw sienna, followed by okay, so now we've gone all the way around. Now, the last thing to do, at least what I would do, is take a brush. This desk is huge, but with this camera, it gets really, really tiny. Alright, and let's just take a wee little bit. And I want to make sure I put enough of the paint on that I can see what it looks like as a dark paint, and then bringing it out into the lighter version. these are the colors I've put on my lovely palette. Now I know which ones they are, so I have the names of the colors, which is good because if I run out, of course, I can refill them using the right color. And also when I quote the name or try to tell you what color I'm using, I can also make sure that I'm using the right one if I've taken it from this palette, because of course this is only this palette. So this will go onto the pile with the rest of these guys. I've got to let it dry. And then I'm going to let this dry. I want to let this dry completely, or almost completely, and then I'll start using it. If I use it while they're wet, I'm just going to use so much more. And I really like the transparency of watercolor. You get that when they're drier, you're going to get less paint, and it's going to be, a lighter, more transparent color. So I did this a few hours ago, and I think in the next tutorial I'm going to do another one and show you guys how I did this teeny tiny lovely clementine or mandarin. I'm not even sure exactly what it is. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. Do join me in the next tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this gives you guys a little more direction when it comes to putting together your own palette. Of course, you can do exactly the same thing using a plate from your kitchen. If you still live at home with your parents, be sure to ask them before you borrow a plate. They might freak out, and let them know that you can wash it off. It's not permanent. It's not going to ruin the plate. I hope you enjoyed this lovely tutorial about the palette, and I will see you in the next episode. Toodaloo!